Boomies are one of the most simple specs to play these days, but that doesn't mean it can't get any easier. If you're looking for some super simple yet effective macros that will improve your gameplay while being macro beginner friendly and safe to use, you're in the right place. My name is Ivona from momsden.com, and if we're meeting for the first time, go ahead and smash that sub button, as I do a bunch of simple WoW guides for classes, dungeons, raids, and collectibles, and I'm pretty sure we all like getting those easy wins in a slightly overcomplicated system, so I'm sure you'll love it here. There are a few things I'd like to point out before we begin. First of all, I highly recommend some sort of group, frame, barb, manager add-on thingy like Healbot for example, that you can use to hover over your friends' nameplates and cast more easily. If you like Healbot, you'll have to install it manually, and I link it to you in the description along with a short guide on how to manually install WoW add-ons. Another thing to mention is that these macros are 100% safe to use. You're not breaking any rules whatsoever, and this is something a lot of new players worry about, and that's why they don't use macros, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, these ones are not all the macros that exist, and there are plenty of lesser known ones that I won't be going over, as these are the ones I chose as the most simple, effective, and beginner friendly ones. In the description, you'll find a link to Google Docs file that you can get into and copy all these macros that I'm going to talk about. What you want to do is then go into WoW, press escape, click on macros, and then create a new macro for each particular thing you want to do. Just click on new, choose an action, and name your macro, press OK, and then paste the macro into the design space. After that, all you need to do is save it and put that newly created macro into your spellbar and keybind it. Easy peasy. Alright, the first macro I want to mention is for Rebirth, which will allow you to cast Rebirth on one of your fallen friends by mousing over their corpse, or even better, their nameplate, and then casting the spell, which is why I mentioned Healbot as a great add-on to go along with your macro business. The next one is Remove Corruption, which pretty much does the same thing, but the difference is that it'll remove curses from a friendly target that's alive, and if there's nobody around, then that's you. Another one is the Innervate macro, and this one I find particularly handy, as it also announces your healer that they've been innervated. This actually helps a lot, because your healer will actually be aware of the free mana and will be able to utilize this in the best possible way. The next two are actually pretty cool, as they don't require you to tab between your targets as much as you used to. This macro is made for both Moonfire and Sunfire separately, but they work in the same way. Essentially, you're able to cast Moonfire or Sunfire on any target in range that you mouse over without actually changing the main target. So that means you can off-dot everyone and still fire off Star Surge on your main target, which will usually be the largest and or the beefiest in the pack, so that's pretty useful. The next one is the defensive macro for Bear Form, and it essentially stops the spell you're casting and gets you straight into Bear Form, which is more reactive than you waiting, for example, for your Wrath cast to go off before shapeshifting and starting to grind rage for defensive abilities. Then there's the Starfall macro, essentially allowing you to cast Starfall wherever your mouse is pointing out within your range. Another one I highly recommend is the Star Surge macro, which essentially cancels your next queued spell in order to cast Star Surge. This one is pretty sweet, as it removes the frustrating feeling of you being in the middle of a cast you've changed your mind about, having to move to interrupt it, and then casting Star Surge, which makes a huge difference in your momentum. This is one of those macros that can actually get you to deal more damage, and if there's any particular one I recommend as a must, it's this one. The next one is a bit of a wacky one, and I personally enjoy it, but it is in no way necessary. Basically, it works in a way that it casts Shadowland if you're in combat. If you're out of combat, you'll go into Prowl and Cat form, and if you're in combat and your Shadowland is on cooldown, you'll just get into Cat form. This one casts Thorns on your friendly target, or on a friendly target of your target, or on your mouse over target, assuming they're not dead. It's super useful if you're, let's say, in the middle of an attack, but you want to protect your tank without changing the target yourself. You can also cast Regrowth or Rejuvenation depending on your talent by mousing over your ally's bar, or essentially body by taking advantage of the healing macro, which is a lot more simple than clicking and tabbing on players in the middle of the fight. You can also mass root a group of enemies, followed by the silence with this tiny little roots beam macro that stops the other casts and casts these spells if they're available. Finally, there's Cyclone, which allows you to cast Cyclone on your mouse over target. Super useful in PvP, so if you enjoy that kind of thing, this one is highly recommended. And that's pretty much it when it comes to Boomie macros. Let me know in the comments if you've got some interesting ones to share, as it'll help people watching this video. If you enjoy what I do around here and you'd like to support the content while unlocking even more stuff, press that join button and discover more awesome perks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.